Welcome to Mini Maths at Virtual School Victoria, where we do a lot of maths thinking in a little bit of time. Today's topic is division. We're looking at some big ideas in division. Think about what you know about division. One of the most easy way of knowing if you're working with a division problem is to look at the words that help us. How many equal groups in, divide by, share equally, equal parts in, split evenly, equal groups of, share between, divide into, divisible by, divided by. All of these words indicate to us that we are working with a division sum. Division is connected to multiplication. So when you work with division problems, make sure you know your multiplication off by heart. Or another thing I like to do is have the multiplication tables next to me. And if I haven't got the multiplication tables, I write them and have them on a piece of paper next to me. Now, when we look at the connection between multiplication and division, they are called fact families. So if you take the numbers 12, 2 and 6, when we connect them as fact families, this is what they would look like. But the thing that you've got to be really awake to is if you arrange a fact family like this, and you aren't really thinking about what you're doing, you could easily get the wrong answer. I wonder how many were tempted to answer 6. But no, you must stop and you must visualize. I have 2 things. Let's make it 2 oranges. And I have to share them equally between 12 people. Well, not everyone's going to get even 1 orange, so we have to actually cut the orange in 2 and imagine these as equal pieces. So if I took 2 and I shared it equally between 12 people, each person would get a 6. So even though fact families are well and good, you still have to think and visualize, and you have to understand how these numbers work in real life, because most numbers are connected to important ideas in real life. Now let's have a look at the next one, which is, this is what a division problem looks like. This is a common way that they're represented. Here is another common representation of division. And here is yet another one, 60 divided by 3. Now, you would recognize this as perhaps an improper fraction. There is nothing stopping a division sum from looking like that as well. So 60 divided by 3. And once you see these mathematical symbols, you know you're dealing with a division problem. Now, a division is always a sharing problem. We'll just do one example quickly today. If you're going to divide anything by 6, you have to know your tables. If you are not confident in your tables, you just have a good list of tables here. And here for you, I'm writing the 6 times tables. I've written 4 times 6, 5 times 6, 6 times 6, and 7 times 6. Now, I'm not going to do any more because to divide it, I've looked at this number here, which is somewhere between here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this number into 2 parts. And my parts will be the multiplication tables. So I'm going to do 360 divided by 6. And that still leaves me 24 from here. And here's my 24 here. That's a 6 times table divided by 6. So I've broken down the 384 into 2 parts. And you can see, even though it's now 360 and 24, it's still the same number. So 360 divided by 6 will give me 60. 24 divided by 6 will give me 4. And of course, altogether, it equals 64. There are lots of different ways of checking the problems calculator, but the estimation that I made was the answer I'm looking for will be around about 60. Let's have a look at another division problem here, shall we? Another way people like to do the division, you need your multiplication tables. So I'm going to do my sevens. 7, 2 7s are 14, 3 7s are 21, and 4 7s are 28. Well, can you see this 230? It would appear between the 21 and 28. So we start. How many groups of 7 can I get out of 2? Nothing, because if I've got 2 things, I can't make a group of 7. So what we do is we make a 230, or 23 if we just pretend those units aren't there. So how many groups of 7 can I get out of 23? 1, 2, 3. I can only get 3 groups out of 23. So I'm going to take those groups out. And I like to put the 0 there because it's easier. 8 take away 0 is 8. 3 take away 1 is 2. So I've taken out 30 sevens because it's in the tens column. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have got 34, and I've actually taken out 28. And of course, I'm left with nothing, so I've shared 7 evenly 238 evenly between 7 groups. So there's lots of different strategies. I've just shown you a few. Now let me see if I can get back to the right one. How do we recognize a division problem? We'll do this pretty quickly. Which one do you think is the division problem? When you see how many cows altogether, that is more like a multiplication problem. But when you see how many cows would be in each shed, that means they're being shared. So number 2 is a division problem. I wonder which one is a division problem here. Okay, if you looked at the words altogether, that's the multiplication. But how much did each person get? So number 1 is the division problem. We'll just do one more. Let's do this one. Okay, if you saved $50 a week, how much would you have after 12 weeks? Or you have been saving for 12 weeks and saved $600. How much money have I saved each week? So this is the division problem here. So you've got to learn to recognize that language for, to understand whether you do the multiplication or you do the division. Now, we'll go into the strategies a little bit later in more detail, but for dealing with division problems, the first thing you need to do is find the multiplication that belongs to those numbers, have the tables handy, use them. The next thing is to visualize or imagine what you need to do with the problem. So if they're talking about sharing 2 oranges between 12 people, imagine your 2 oranges and imagine your 12 people. Draw a picture to show the problem. That's always helpful. Not so good if you're working in numbers like 5 million divided by, 200, but you can find strategies. One of my favorite strategies is to round and estimate and then break numbers into parts that are easier to work with, and those groups of numbers would always be the tables. And here's my favorite one, is round and estimate. Now, for you to understand division, you've got to understand that it is a sharing problem where everything is shared equally. You need to know your tables and fact families to solve division. There are different symbols for division, and words like share equally usually appear as division problems. Okay, still need a little bit more work on that? Well, we'll come back another time. Thank you for listening.